folks. Welcome back to the ABC Network. This is the H Factor with your host, Hurricane H. Great show today and a great guest. We're going to have an interesting discussion, and a discussion that I think everybody that's watching or listening would today or anytime would probably use and can use. Sometimes we have different things that we deal with in life, and we're all over the place. And today we're going to try to figure out a way to unify the self. And so I'm going to leave it at that. But with me, my guest is a special guest. I mean, he's doing a lot of things. He has a great story that we're going to talk about and how he got into this point of his life and the work he does. He's also an author. He has a book that's out, and the book is Unified Men Building a Nation from Within. So we're going to build that nation within ourselves today. And without any further ado, I have with me Neal Fisher. Neal, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, bud. Good to be here.
My pleasure, dude. And I think we're gonna have a fun discussion today because this is a topic that, again, as I stated, we all can use some of that wisdom to try to figure out ourselves and build from within. I mean, ultimately, we need to do that. I mean, it's a vital, piece of life. And if we can do that correctly, hopefully we can live a different life, a better life, and achieve things that we want. And everything else, I mean, is irrelevant if you're completely destroyed and unified. So Neal, before everything else, let's always talk. I'll always love to ask about your background because I've read about your story and how things went southwards with for you for quite a bit of years, 8 years, I believe, and
Mhm.
then you kind of find your way. And by the way, reading your story, it's a very common story. I've been there. I know a lot of people have been there, and we can certainly bring some of that to the surface because or someone may be in that path today and not sure what to do, so maybe we can assist them. So let's talk about that. Let's get to know Neal.
Yeah, well, as you say, my story is your story. It's pretty much everybody's story. There's always the immaturity of your life, that's your youth. And then you go out into the world and if you have any aspirations or ambition, generally there's a big downfall. You'll start and then there's a crash. It's the typical hero's journey. And that was me, in my early 20s, as I was looking for that. I had that ambition. I wanted the success and the significance. But the problem was, like all of us, I was torn within. I didn't have the self-reflection and the understanding of and dominion over my consciousness, my mind, and my body. And because I was a like smoking heaps of pot and all this sort of stuff, I was always up in the ether. I was always torn. I wasn't actually grounded here within. So, lost the girl, bankruptcy, lost the business, just all that, and left with just a huge pile of debt. And the fairy tale that I constructed in my head, which was just a false illusion, it was I went off the deep end and I didn't come up for air. And it all just crumbled around me. It's like my mother, she is a nurse and she has a saying, neurotics build castles in the sky, whereas psychotics live in those castles. I lived in that castle and it
Oh man,
just
that's a good one.
crumbled, man. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to deal with, ever. Like nothing has been as hard ever since then because it was just, you had to face yourself and realize that you were full of shit. It was basically, that was the end result of it. And then just the journey of submitting to an occupation of hard physical labor that wasn't of my calling, using my body rather than my brain. So but the beauty of that was it had me connected to real men who lived in the old world, the real world before all of this digital infrastructure. So it matured me and they taught me how to be a man without all of the artificial nature of the modern civilization. So it had all these unforeseen positive side effects, but it was still not the occupation of my calling. And that's how the book came about. Is It was something I was always interested in, and I'd always been taking notes and discovering things and self-education, all the books. I went to all the seminars, all that. And once I sat down, I didn't even mean to write it. I meant to write just a 10-page document. That was it. But as soon as I started, like it just wrote itself. I just sat in a room like this for a month, and it just poured out of me, and that was it. And now this is where we are now, man. And just combining that with we all know what we have to do in our heart. We can feel it like every morning. If I don't obey what I have to do, I literally feel a pain, a fear in my chest and my solar plexus, because that's like the energetic center of self confidence and self worth and self assuredness. So that's why a lot of the times anxiety and discomfort sits in that area, because you literally, it's a physical manifestation. You're not following your heart. That's why it hurts in the chest and why it hurts in the belly. So, and here we are now following that heart.
Well. So Neil, I mean, you've touched on quite a powerful stuff right now. I mean, you made it very, sweet in the discussion, but there's so many pieces to your experience, right? And I think we'll spend some time, dissecting that first part of your life that, kind of had a great success, but then a collapse that was, colossal, and certainly that
Yeah.
was destructive. So, but I think there's a few factors there. I mean, hearing you and listening to you right now, what I'm hearing is that you were able to achieve some of your ambition early on,
Mm,
and that's the thing. Like, when we're young, we have a lot of ambition, and I would hope that everybody does. But either way, when you get that early success, in life, sometimes you get a little extravagant with the spending, and you want to become the one that everybody looks up to, and the dress code is different, the vehicles, the lifestyle is lavish. You get all that stuff in, and so what happens is, sometimes you get overboard. Now you get a little extra habits, and those extra
mm,
habits can get costly, and then your behavior changes, and next thing you know, it affects your relationship. And in that process, you're enjoying. Sometimes we do spend more than what we have, and therefore we wind up in a deeper that pool. And then, by the way, for this, what I just described here, based on your statement, is really a lot of people's lives today, and or
mm,
whether they're younger or any given time. Because I think sometimes we have these cycles. We get up and then we learn our lesson, and then sometimes we kind of like tend to fall back into it, because to your point, there is a lot of stuff. And you talked about the idea of digital age, and we live in a cloud. I mean, right now, if you watch social media, uh, you can become, everybody's a millionaire on social media, right? I mean, we see a lot of that, like, the money grows on trees. And, yes, I mean, some of these people are successful, but it's not like we're going through their story, what happened, how they got the success, and they tell you exactly step by step. And we see all the things that they've done to get there. Some get, sometimes you get lucky, you get but that's maybe a small percentage of the population. But the way it's
mm,
portrayed, that it's so accessible, so easy, that everybody is like, oh, I don't want to. You want to cut corners. You don't want to go to school. You don't want to do this. You want to do that. And then you figure out, it's going to happen. And then even if you did it right, then you have all these lifestyles that are out there in your face. Billionaire stars. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I am actually for it, and as
mm.
long as you do it right, and as long as you know
Yeah.
that it's in your hand, not in your heart, that kind of thing. But and by the way, as ambition and success is great stuff. You want to go there. I personally believe that you want to achieve goals in life, and whatever those are, whether it's a lavish style, the luxury style, or it could be just a modest style. It doesn't matter. But
Mm,
the fact of the matter, you said it. It's not. We are not taught the same way that some of the, I guess, older generation had it. And when you discovered that, you discovered the hard way. Working the
mm,
hard way. With some hardcore folks. That were really making it one day at a time, building it. Slowly, and that shifts things. Like there's a manhood there that is a little different. It's not a light stuff. It's heavy things, heavy duty business. And so
mm,
so your story is really a lot for our audiences, folks. If you're young, and listen, cycle is very simple. You go to school, you have these ideas, these dreams, and that's great. And so now you get to maybe early on, savor some of these successes, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But know that there's certain ways to do it and certain ways not to do it. If you
mm,
you know veer out the wrong way, it will affect you, and that's all there is. Now, you most people don't like to listen from and take the stories of others, because they want to discover it on their own. But here's the thing: this has repeated itself over and over around the world million times a year for millions of
Oh
people.
yeah,
So this is not unique to anyone watching or listening. I mean, we all try to feel like, well, that's for them. It doesn't happen to me, but it can happen to and the best of us. I've been there. I mean, I'm
yeah,
not joking. I mean, I've had great life successes, but also I've had a lot of problems in my life. I dropped into debt. I did have a bankruptcy like a couple of decades back, and so I can relate to what you stated, and in no time, you are in debt very quickly, because you want everything, and I mean, that is almost like designed these days to be part of life. I mean, at least in the States. I know you're in Australia, but in the States, in high school, they approach you with credit cards. You already get that.
you're
And then
right.
you got in college, you already got a debt for about $100,000. That's the cheapest you can get, to get a 4 years degree. I mean, you may be cheaper than that, if you go to maybe a community college or smaller. But at the end of the day, if you add it up, it's you're in debt before you even start. Now, if you have some ambition, some skills, and some successes early on with the business or whatever it might be, you might have the ability to maybe live a lifestyle. But then with lifestyle comes you know extravagant stuff. You want to have a better car, you want to have everything that people take years to actually achieve, and you want it to have in the short term. And
Mm,
so you do it extra, and then you wind up hanging in a big debt, that anchors down and pulls you down, as you mentioned, deep in the sea here, and that's all there is. And sometimes it's hard to come up. But I
mm,
mean, that's the first part. But then there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You always have to look at your story. Started great, then it went ugly, but then you were back, and you are back. But now, not only you're back, you figured out a way to avoid all the things that you did wrong and share them with the world, really. So so
mm,
so that's it. Now you stated something that's important. I'd like you to expand on it. When you said, I did it with real men, real
mm.
people, like that the hard, with the old way. Let's
Yeah.
explain. Let's explain that to our audiences.
Well, real men is that they were here and now. They were present. They don't complain. They don't whinge. They just do whatever needs to be done. And given the nature of it, like because I was a concreter, I still do a bit here and there because it's very primal, it's very raw, and it's the closest thing a man can get to actual conflict and battle. Because I don't know if anybody on here knows anything about pouring concrete. It's visceral, it's real, and it's a bomb. The instant that concrete truck rocks up, there's a fuse. It's you're not in control anymore. It's in control, and you have to perform. Doesn't matter if you've only had 3 hours sleep. Doesn't matter if you drank a carton of beer the day before. It doesn't matter how sick or unwell or unmotivated you are. You have to do that because it's such a strong camaraderie in that instance that every man needs to be there and every man needs to be focused. It's like a tight knit unit of men, and everybody through that blood bonded um, challenge together. And also, too, mind you, this isn't in pleasant temperatures. This is in thermonuclear heat of tropical North Queensland. So you are just melting. You are melting, and this concrete is going hard. It's like liquid stonemason. You're a liquid stonemason, and it's in reverse. So you have to cut this product that's getting harder and harder every single second. So these real men, it's primitive. It's like a war tribe. You have to come together and you all have to have each other's backs. You can't let anyone down. And if you do, your honor is just tainted forever. So I don't know if anyone on here has read the book, The Way of Men by Jack Donovan, but it's exactly that: strength, courage, mastery, and honor. You have to be strong physically. You have to be courage. Fuck, we might have taken on too much work here, but we have to deal with it. Mastery in the sense of you have to know what you're doing. You can't fake it. You can't say it's you're stripped raw. You can't hide. And the honor part is basically sticking to your word and your reputation in your gang of men. So it taught me to be visceral and to be physical. And I think every man and even women, and that's the thing with my book, it's called A Unified Man because it's written by a man to a younger man. Like if I read my book when I was 18, I could have saved myself a hell of a lot of time. But it's for women as well because the world needs strong women as well. It's just without strong men, everybody suffers. And if I called it a unified person, it just doesn't have the same quite ring to it. So, in summary, real men, real world, primitive, no whinging, no complaining, and just that tight bonded brotherhood. And all those men now, I could bring them at any point and see each other, and we've got to have each other's backs for life. Like trust, like nothing is more valuable in this world than trust. So
Well,
that's
well,
what the realness is about.
well, I love it. But so I want to just so you described all that. That's awesome. But now let if you don't mind, just describe the other way, the other version that you had. What was the how do you compare them? I mean, side by side, if you were to to give us a
Oh, you
descriptive.
mean if you're like gammon, as they say here, like you mean like you're a weakling or something?
Yeah.
Like oh,
So prior to that, I mean, I guess that's what it was. That's the description you would give yourself, huh? Well,
yeah,
at
oh
least.
no, I'm not a
So
weakling. I just I was torn within. I wasn't aligned. I would want one thing, but I wouldn't. I'd say something or think something, but my actions wouldn't be aligned. And I mean that's the biggest thing is meaning what you saying what you mean and meaning what you say. Like the compound effect of like there is a universal force that governs everything, every organism, every phenomenon, the planets, the whole universe is all governed by the compound effect. And it's basically just those small actions, small things over time lead to massive, unrecognizable results. That's how everything is run. And the thing is, it's always in action at all times. There's no stasis. I made the mistake of thinking I'm just cruising through life. Like I'm just comfortable. I'm just chilling. I don't have to worry about, I'll do it tomorrow. Or, I'm steady. I'm comfortable. No, it's insidious. That means it's over time, eventually it's going to go down. And same with the positive actions. Everything's inconsequential in the moment, but there is immediate feedback, physiological, mental, emotional. And that's what happened to me. I was obeying the positive aspects of the compound effect, doing the small, little, consistent actions. They're simple and boring, but they're the hardest to master because they are simple and boring. And that's why nobody does it because it looks like it does nothing. And back to what you were saying about all these social media stars and all that, that's what got them there is the consistency and the small actions. And even if they got there by luck, without those small, consistent actions, they won't be able to keep it anyway. It's always in effect. And
well, Neil, I don't believe it. Like, so when I know I stated that, but what I meant with that is that, sometimes you get a lucky streak, you get some sort of a
yeah,
the cards are dealt correctly, right? That's what I meant with it. There's no coincidence. You just fall
yeah,
upon you stumble upon the right ingredients, you know what I mean, and
yeah.
somehow you wind up in a good pool, and therefore you have a better opportunity. I mean, that's the same thing, you're born rich. I mean, that's you can't do anything about it. I
Sometimes that's a curse because it makes you weak.
well, it is what it is. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
idea is the same way. You can make it work or you can completely flunk it. I mean, we've seen those two samples, right? I mean, you have people that are born, with a gold spoon, as they say, but they maintain, or some people that just take it for granted and they waste everything out, and they have a destructive life, and that's nothing comes out of it. And by the way, this is irrelevant of culture and or ethnic background or nations. This is happening everywhere around the world. You
mm,
have opportunities,
I
but
mean,
sometimes, and it is true, the tougher life is, the more appreciative you are for everything else that you get, in life. And you become a different person and personality, if you want to call it that. So, but these folks, I mean, they work, like you said, consistency is a key. They maintain, they work, they have discipline, they have certain habits. And by the way, that's my question to you now. You know,
mm.
if you can share some of the bad habits or things that you've done wrong, uh, that definitely you would tell someone right now, do not go there. Do not
Oh
cross the line.
yeah,
I mean,
right, right.
that's like a railroad crossing, with the train, two trains coming at the same time. Do not go
Oh
there.
man, the bad habits, man. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't take drugs, don't eat the bad food, don't become an online shopping addict, don't be addicted to social media, don't look at your phone first thing in the morning, don't look at your phone. Fuck all, unless it's business related. Don't look at it, man. Don't um, don't procrastinate. that's just the worst one. Don't wait till tomorrow. And just that's the thing. Like they're called basics for a reason. It's like everybody knows when they're stuffing up. Everybody knows in their heart what they should be doing, but because we've missed the difference between what we think pleasure and hedonism, the seeking of pleasure, we think that's the be all end all of life. Like I'll get like for example here, I recently sold my house. So finally I could break out of like this is a different house. So now I've got the money to choose to go to work. I don't have to go to work every day. I can do my real work. When that happened, I was even more miserable than what happened before because I didn't have all these little distractions like drinking and fast food and mindless pleasure like playing all these video games and shit like I used to years ago because there was nothing fake to fill the void. I was left to focus the pain of my reality, the denial of my conscience and my call in life. So that's why I was so unhappy recently because I realized what now? What is it now? I'd struggled all of these years to get to this point, and now that I'm here, it feels empty. And I've read about that in books. I've heard people talk about that. And then that's where you really have to sit with yourself and see what is it that you're actually being called to do. And like even now, every day I wake up with discomfort and fear in my solar plexus and in my chest and in my belly because that's a compass. Because I know that I have to do things outside of my comfort zone every day. And everything you want is on the other side of that fear. So obey that. Look within and think about what are you most afraid to do. If it's comfortable and it's easy and it's cheap, it's not going to do anything for you. Again, compound effect. It's just going to keep taking you further away, and the pain will just get greater and greater and greater. So we
Well,
all know
well,
what to do, man. We
yeah.
really do.
Well, yes or no. I mean, if everybody knew what to do, we wouldn't be, we wouldn't have these issues, right? Unfortunately, we need sometimes advice and, at least
Yeah.
guidance and coaching, such as what we're doing right now, based on your
Yeah.
experience. But, we talked sometimes about, well, we talked a little bit about, or at least alluded to the idea of spending and debt. What are some of the mistakes you made, financial mistakes that actually got you in that deep hole? Because that's the other thing. I mean, as a young person, who might have access to money somehow,
Mm.
through ventures, whatever that is, how can they easily fall into the trap of that? And what can you tell them?
Oh, mate,
Just
the easiest thing, the way to lose money is do what I did. Start day trading and take out a huge loan and just start trading with that money. That is the
ooh,
easiest way to lose money, man. It's simple like that. And then while you're doing it, make sure you smoke plenty of pot and do that. That'll work as well. That'll help you lose lots of money. And then go out to dinner every night and don't look at your bank account. Just keep spending. That's a good way to lose money.
well,
Because
that's ultimately the no nos of edit, and that we're supposed to.
yeah,
But again, many people they get into, oh, they trading is good. You can win things. You can do things like this, whatever. I don't have the money. Here you go. You find a solution. You borrowed money. Now there's interest. There's compound. There's all this stuff. And then again, you're using some of the money here. You might win some, but you lose more. I mean, that's
yep,
like going to gambling in a casino. I mean, the odds you're going to lose, right? So it is what it is. And a lot of folks sometimes get into this, and
yeah,
again, you add to it a habit such as smoking, and I'm not talking just smoking. I mean, we're talking pot here,
be
and
anything. Could be
yeah,
anything.
okay, yeah. I mean, the mind is not going to be fully present when you make decisions, right?
Yeah, it's not here, man. It's up in space.
You're like, wow, everything sounds cool at the time, right? So you're like in the
Yeah.
cloud. I mean, literally, no pun intended, right?
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
true. You are up in the clouds. You're in the ether.
that's it. Well, you're living in that sky, that castle, right? As you
Yeah, yeah. I live there, but I live there. I live there.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, folks. I mean, I'm purposely, going through this discussion with Neil about just because we want to highlight some of the things that, as you hear them, if you're into the process of any of the latter that we just talked about here, then there's a good chance, there could be a problem. So as long as you're aware, that's what we want you. Be aware, and then the decision is yours, folks. If you're watching or listening, you can say, I don't need to hear, these airheads, talking about and tell me what to do, which is, by the way, you're right. However, just pick some of the stuff that we said and see if this, you have a check mark, one or two check marks there, then it might be worth, just listening and maybe just taking, a little bit of an understanding of that things can happen. And by the way, anyone out there in life that's been long enough living would tell you that life will throw, a lot of curveballs, a lot of, blindside stuff that's going to happen, a lot of bumps that you would not expect, a lot of turbulence. And any one of those things can happen when you least expect it. And so if you make the wrong moves, you basically build in your house, with shells. I mean, with light stuff, and the first wind, you crumble. So I understand that, and that's really what it is. Remember, these shows are to just enlighten people and to educate, and get them into a better place. And Neil's work is really to, again, think about a unified man from within. I mean, building a nation from within. And there is that power. Now, I know, Neil, you've come up with a solution. You've taken the subconscious and bridged it with the conscious, and then you come up with something. Let's talk about that concept.
Well, within every one of us, there's an unborn entity. Like we come into this existence, this reality from the source. We all come from the source, and we're all a unique shard of that source. I mean, we're all unique, but we're all similar as well. That's the beauty of it. So within, we're put here, and there's a makeup in us. There's an entity in there. There's that greater power. That's why we have things like epiphanies, and we can um, have like following our heart and all those sorts of things. And we know what is our highest and best self. It's just the civilization just corrupts all that and tears us. And that's why it's so hard to be aligned with the higher entity within, is because it's a torn world. There's torn families, torn identities, torn within between the mind and the body. So it's basically about quieting your mind, getting rid of all of those distractions. And it's about matter over mind. The first step is basically looking after your body. If you look like shit, you're going to feel like shit. If you put good things in your body and work your body, you're going to feel good. And we all look at these positive people and these people that are achieving and successful like they've elevated. But what's really happened is that we're born into I don't like the word, not toxic, but we're born into, I just say, a corrupted world, so to speak. The civilization, that's what civilizations do. They tear us apart. So it's really actually about getting back to our baseline, getting our health, getting our mindset and our direction and purpose, what our real gift is. That's just the baseline. Like look at a child. When a child's born, generally they're happy and healthy and playful and kind. They're not vicious creatures of the things that people get turned into. That's our baseline. So that's untainted. What happens is all our ego constructions and our delusions and our influences just taint who we think we really are and what we really are. So by addressing the body, you can address your mind and become clearer and actually really get that self-awareness of the seat of consciousness that sits in your skull behind your mind. You can witness it. You can feel it in the center of your head. That's where you really are. Whereas the mind is just this projector sitting in your frontal lobes. You can witness that. So when you remove all of the poison and all of the terrible influences and the misdirection and really just start to trust your own instincts and your own body and get into that, that's how you can really start to begin to bridge that gap between the subconscious, which I call the ultra conscious, really, because I don't like sub, it seems subservient, whereas that's the thing that's really the power driving you. And it's about removing all of your roadblocks and your convictions and always being fluid. It's a never ending process of your ego control conscious mind. Easier said than done, a lot easier said than done, so that you can allow the force to flow through you, to animate you, because it animates everything. It's just we try and control it. We try and think about it, whereas you just allow it to be when you get out of your own way, as that is just you hear so often. It flows through you, it happens for you, and really you begin to witness your own actions in motion, and it just life just starts to take care of itself.
So you become a unified man.
You become a unified man, baby.
All right. Well, so what are some like the key attributes to a unified man? Yeah. And by the way, I love what you said. This is about men and women. I mean, this is like the
Yeah.
mankind. It's the element of being, right? And anyone that can achieve this becomes this, right? And but what are
Mm.
some of the key attributes to define this particular being, really?
The particular attributes is I'll break it down. So there's building a nation from within is treating your own life like a state of rulership. It's taking the macrocosm and bringing it down to the microcosm. Look at any country you live in, any country, any organization, a club, any group of people, anything. They're all a representation of a singular person, of the life of a person. A nation is the same as a person. So, how does that work? Your consciousness, your actual conscious experience, that's the leader, that's the incumbent, that's the president, that's who's in control. Everything trickles down from that. If there's weaknesses and blind spots or corruption or immaturity, most important, or lack of character development in that self awareness and that self governance, your mind's going to be a jumble, your body's going to be a jumble. So it's really about getting clear within and being able to detach from your thoughts, because your thoughts are like the government, they're like the keys to power, they're like the web of influence. Same like a nation. You, as the ruler of your nation, you need to start to command your mind and bring all of those zillion voices and distractions and misdirections and try and start to bring them into alignment, like bringing order into the court, so that the supporters, the people that make the shit happen, are aligned with the leader's vision. You are the leader. You have the vision for your life. You need to bring your mind, your court, your comrades into alignment, so it's all unified. And from there, the body is like the territory of the nation itself. It's the land, it's the infrastructure, it's the general population, it's the military. Like, if you can't defend yourself or at least have the fitness to run away, you're not a complete person. You're not a completely capable person. The only reason we have stability and comfort is because we're living off, number one, the consistent effort of others. You can only be a couch potato because all around the planet there's a mechanization and a bunch of people putting an effort to supply the resources to you. You can only be lazy because you're living off the consistent effort of others. So you need to be capable. And number two is violence has been outsourced. Violence isn't cool. Violence isn't the answer, but violence is the final answer. The reason you can be a weakling is because there's the police, there's the military. The threat of that violence creates civil order. So you don't have to try and be able to defend yourself. You don't have to be capable. And also, even this verbal confrontation, the challenges you face in life, you can just run away from them. Like, you don't even have the ability to confront things when they're in front. And I can say this because I was a coward for a very long time. I would always run away from things. And I'm, no barbarian, or I'm no championship fighter or anything like that, but I at least can yell pretty loud and I can swing a punch and I can at least run away. So back to also the nation and the infrastructure, you need to keep your population healthy. A sick population is an unproductive population. You need to put the right things in your body. You need to have full control over what you put in your body, all your bones, all of your skeleton, everything. That's the infrastructure. If that's weak and crumbling, you're not going to have a very prosperous nation. And that's what it's about. And that's why it's called building a nation from within, is because you're taking full command and dominion over your internal territory.
That's pretty deep philosophically. Well, I mean, well, I'm hearing clarity, strength. I'm hearing, like really territorial stuff, ruling your territory. I'm hearing control. I mean, of all your aspect, as opposed to just being not in control.
Mm.
You're crisp. You're crystal clear about what you need to do. Everything is defined, in this particular status. So, and by the way, what you're describing is the ideal, person. I mean, this is the ideal being where you
Mm.
have all these things in place. I mean, is there such a person? And the answer is it could be, and
Mm.
it is from within. We all need to do the work to get to that level. So this is, I love what you said. The example of a baby, a child, is clean. I mean, there's nothing in a child that
It's
is, but
pure.
it's super
Yes,
exactly pure.
pure.
There is no, there is
Babies
no
are pure.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, everybody's born in that pure form, but it's like it's a pure gem. But then it gets dirty, dirty, with everything else, and really corrupted. Basically, it's like you got a nice computer, and then now you have all these viruses that hit it, and it's all
Mm.
corrupt. It's that kind of concept. So, but what you're creating here is the concept of almost cleansing all that impurities
Mm.
and rebuilding that pure status and at a higher level where now you are an adult state and you have the understanding you can understand the world better, you can operate in the world better, you have a different way of and moving around everything that's around us, because really we have to navigate the world we live in. We're not solo in this world. So everything that was wrong still exists. I mean, technically, everything that that was a detriment and a cause of your problems in life still is around. But what you were able to do now is to change and transform yourself to this new being that stuff doesn't phase you anymore. It's like, you just walk right through it. It just goes right through. It's like the frequency of those things is not even, computing with you. It's not, collecting in your dish, right? So it's a different way of operating, and that's a super status. I mean, we'd like everybody to be there, and at least maybe to think about the concept of being at that level. And again, you're broken down to some real element. I mean, clarity. We all need that, right? And everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. And to be clear on things, you need to get rid of all the bad stuff that's actually going to be, obstructing that clarity, right? Strength, and whether it's physical or mind or spiritual, all these things have to be in place to actually get you to that next level. Control, I mean, you have to be the one in charge, as opposed to, the world is just, you're just kind of like floating around whatever the wind comes and the waves take you, you're just going to float around that. So you're in really, at the helm. You are the captain of the ship here. You are the CEO of your Inc., right? So it's really a different. By the way, whatever we're talking about now, it's not an alien concept. I mean, most of us know about these things and they do exist, but putting it together in perspective in front of us in one, element, step by step, guide is usually a difficult task. And sometimes we need these interactions to at least like, oh, well, yeah, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. And ideally, yes, that's me. I want to be that person. So thank you for that. Now, that book, I love what you did with it. I mean, it was just, your stuff that you wanted just to write a journal, and then it became a book. So you have the idea to write it now, and you want to share with the world. And what is the actual motivator for you to actually now do that? Because in one way, you did all this for yourself and you achieved that. But what actually got you to do this so you can change the world and become a coach and a mentor?
If you want to change the world, you just change your world. Simple as that. That's the mission. That's everybody's mission in life, is not to change the world, but to change their world. And when enough worlds change within, the world does change, man. So the reason I do it is because of the mission. And the mission is simple. It's to build the nation. and to build the future. You and I are the nation. And how do we build that? We build that by building ourselves from the inside out. We take command of our territory because the only, you can't own anything in this life outside of your physical body. Nothing. Because the reason you can't own anything is because the earth already owns us. Simple. Period. Nothing else. So that's why the body is so important and why all this internal work is so important is it's the only thing that really matters. It's the only thing you actually can truly call your own possession. Everything else is just stuff and matter. So that's what the first aspect of the nation is, of the mission is building you, building me, everybody. And we all have the same goals. Every man, pretty much every woman, we all have the same goals. We all want the health. We all want the wealth. We all want happiness, prosperity, love, um, peace on world peace. Yeah, we all want the same goals. And if all of us are empowered to do that in our own realms, we all collectively have the same mission. And if we're all empowered with that information, well, then we can all autonomously be going towards, as a species, towards the same goal because we all want the same goal. So if we're all empowered and we have the motivation and collectively, that's how you change a species because we all want the same thing. And if we're all working towards the same thing autonomously like that, simple. And what does that look like? That looks like the future. And the future is simply a time that is different and better than now. Everyone's got good character. Everybody's healthy and fit. People aren't supporting poisonous, destructive industries. There's respect in life. There's trust in life. There's loyalty in life. There's just solid character. I mean, you look at all the movies and stuff, all the baddies, everyone idolizes the baddies, villains. Villains are just miserable pricks. That's the difference. The hero and the villain have got the same amount of power. What separates them? It's their character. The villains are just sad, miserable, insert harsh language. That's all they are. Whereas the heroes, they yeah, there's nothing wrong with power. Being powerful is good. Power is benevolent. That's what the force wants. I mean, look at how big does a tree grow? A tree grows as big as it possibly can. How big does an animal grow? It grows and grows as big and as strong and expands and accumulates as much as absolutely possible. That's the nature of what we're supposed to do. It's just that we have overlords that dull us and convince us that we're either not worth it or that it's evil to expand. And that's really just an agenda of manipulation. And so that's what inspires me to do it, is because, again, I always come back to the heart. It's just something that's always been within me. Even when I was a child, I would draw a lot and I would draw vast landscapes of civilization or military or just building things. Like, I'm a builder at heart. Like, even the construction thing that I've done for a decade, I'm glad to have done that because now I know how the world is built. It's built on concrete and steel. I can build a skyscraper if I really had to. I can build things, and that's what it's about, building each other and ourselves from within, taking command of that territory because your body it's all there is. It's just you. And if that's not unified, you'll always have blind spots. Like you're saying, a lot of the curveballs, we create them because we haven't got the awareness or we don't see where our consistent actions and our behaviors and our habits are going to lead us. And then all of a sudden we wake up and our life's upside down. If you're observant, you can see things do happen. You never know what's coming. But a lot of the time you can look at behaviors and you can see where it's going to end up. So,
Well, Neil, I mean, you thank you. You just defined, the real purpose of all of us here is that each of us is the element or the cellular level, of the society. Each one is that block, the building block. And if we can, it's like, a healthy body, right? If the cells are all, amplified and they're all optimized and they're all working at optimal levels and there is no free radicals or bad things or cancer cells or the damaged cells. That's all. So you get rid of that, and basically you're building a better body. In this case, we're building a better society with better characters. And so I love what you said. This is not, the world together. This is one person at a time. If we each of us make this transformation and metamorphose into something that is better, and I love the values that you've enumerated there, because these are all the things, to your point. We all want the same thing. And
Mm,
unfortunately, there's people that go about it the wrong way. But if we all kind of work towards that same common goal by cleansing this, the first one, the us, the self, the rest is history. Because I mean, there's 8 billion on this planet, right? Each one of them makes the transformation. Then we will have 8 billion of super beings living on this
mm.
earth in a real, in sync, concept. And really, who doesn't want that? I mean, really, folks. I mean, if you're listening, watching, I know that if you're listening right now, you want to be that person, to change, to be better, to do better. And if you have these characteristics, there's a good chance you will be successful in everything else you do. Now, that leads me to one question, Neil, which people sometimes always try to find excuses and blame circumstances of why they cannot make the change. What would you tell them?
Wouldn't tell them, I'd show them. This is what
Oh,
I
I
do.
love it.
This is what I do. I'll just show you what to do. I just simple as that, man. I'll just show you what to do. And I'd say, how's that pain in your chest going? How's your heart feel? So, you know, that's what works for me. Like every day. Like if I didn't get up today, like for example, last night, for example, I stayed up real late because that's a whole nother story. But then I was like, oh, excuses, maybe I'm too tired for this podcast and maybe I'll try and put it off or this and that and maybe I won't go to the gym later and or this and that. Maybe I need to sleep today. As soon as you just jump in and do it, you just realize you can't beat the satisfaction. And once you know that feeling, you can't buy that feeling. I think it's akin to like say it's a cold day and there's a hose, right? And somebody's just spraying a little bit of water on you. It's cold, it's painful, it's cold. Whereas you just go and dive in the lake, boom, you're refreshed, you're reborn. Just jump in and also just do the smallest thing, the smallest little thing, tiny little thing, and just stack a little win. And you do one little thing right, then you'll feel a hunger. And like I say to people, what do I say to people? How do I frame it? How do you do less than you have to, but you do a little bit more than you can. Something like that. I can't remember exactly. Which means you do something, but you don't have to do the whole hog. And by doing a little bit more than you have to, but a little bit less than you can, you've immediately made an easy transition. And that's the beauty of the compound effect. Is it's not like tomorrow I'm doing 2 hours gym and I'm eating only meat, fruit, and vegetables, and I'm only doing this and I'm getting up at 3 a.m. and it's like, no, no. You get up 10 minutes earlier. You
Gradual.
you eat, you cut out the candy bars today. You do 3 push-ups. You go for a 5-minute walk and you just gradually compound every single day. And before you even realize it, because over those basics, you won't even notice the change. And before you realize you wake up one day and you'll be unrecognizable to yourself.
Well, Neil, you're describing like a marathon, and life is a marathon, right? I mean, the idea is you don't run a marathon overnight. You build to it, few miles at a day, and so on and so forth, and you build until you get to the point where you can run a marathon and beyond that. And I love it because uh, you mentioned skyscrapers, right? They don't
Mm.
start as a skyscraper. They start one piece at a time, one level at a time until it gets to that point. And so it's everything like that. When we start trying to have it all done in a split second, that's when we get overwhelmed, and therefore we lose ourselves in it and we give up on things. But if small change, just small change will make a
Oh
difference.
man.
And I, it's again, I love this discussion because it is amazing that it's all obvious until until we hear it. I mean, it's there and it's so obvious, but we don't see it until you listen to it and like, really, this is not rocket science. I can do this. This is
Mm,
exactly how it's supposed to be. This is not something that people have not heard before. It's just amazing that it's always there, but we turn I guess a blind eye on things, and we just kind of like try to figure out how to scramble things and make it happen, and then get all stressed out, go been out of shape, and we don't get anywhere, and of course then we don't achieve that unified character that you've built here. And
mm,
really, it is not difficult. I love it. One, and by the way, thank you. It's not about telling people, it's showing people, and showing is by action, and actions speak louder than words. And right, you say a picture is worth 1,000 words because it's showing you what's up. So
mm,
I mean, we all have these capabilities, folks. And we all owe it to ourselves to make that transformation and elevate ourselves. I mean, the motto for our station is the chat for that network is time to evolve, and we need to evolve into this better being. And that's really it. I mean, we hear evolution, about how we've evolved from these. And I personally don't believe in evolution, but that's another story. But we did evolve in technology. We did.
who knows what happened? I wasn't there. I
I,
didn't make I didn't make I didn't make the universe. Who knows?
I listen. I mean, that's a whole different discussion. But
That's a
the
whole
fact is,
different chapter. But yeah,
yeah,
we'll
but
get
but
into
but
that. Maybe
uh,
we'll talk about it next time.
that would be it. But not perfect. But here's the thing, though, right? But we do know that we've evolved in technology. We've evolved in just how men have evolved in terms of the practice of eating, dressing, cooking, building. I mean, talking skyscrapers, we were in huts and caves, right? And so that concept in its own shows that we've come a long way, and which means we're going to continue doing this. But there is nothing about that will make a better difference than if we don't evolve from within ourselves
Yeah.
first, and the rest is history. And again, we need to be not only fit, in our physical format, it's also on brain and
Mm,
the whole thing. I mean, it's the whole body, mind, and spirit in sync all together all the time, seeking those higher levels of character, to be better, to contribute better to the society. And again, your formula is really the success formula for the world. If we all establish this, we should all be happy. And to your point, there will be peace in this world. There will be love and happiness. There will be success. And you've literally hit on this when you worked in heavy duty stuff. And you talked about, like, doesn't matter what you do, you cannot afford a mistake. You work as a team. You work in with the goals and things like that. Well, we are the same in this world, right?
mm,
This is a big project called humanity or earth that we live in, and we all have different functions that we all have to actually do correctly to be able to deliver a better life. But unfortunately, we're all not in the same wavelength. We all kind of like going in different frequencies, and we just have to get into the same frequency. But it starts from within. We have to calibrate, and you are creating a calibration for the individual self right now. So now the book is available uh,
yep.
on ebook right now, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's available. Just free. You can have it free. All you have to do is just follow me on Instagram, the dot unified dot man. It's yours. It's free because obviously I'm a fitness and mindset coach, and it's just the gift. Like if somebody gave me that book when I was 18, I could have avoided all of this. I could have avoided the whole lot. But that's the nature of life. That's the character development that comes from trials and challenges and tests. Um, so yeah, get
Well,
amongst it. It's yours. It's
I
yours. You too.
thank you.
You better follow me on Instagram as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. Well, here's the
Yeah.
thing. It's funny. You said something earlier. You said this is a book that I'll give myself, as a younger version of me.
Yeah.
There's this question that's always being asked, like, would you change anything? What would you tell your old self or younger self if you were to go back?
Oh yeah, no, I'll definitely change it. People say I wouldn't change a thing. Like, bullshit, I would have changed it definitely. I could have been where I am right now when I was 20 instead of 34.
That's
I
something
would have
though.
changed it. Hell yeah, I would have changed it.
Well.
Definitely.
So I just want to spend a couple of minutes on this. There's two
Yeah.
things. I mean, is there a regret on things we've done in life? That's one
Oh,
question. You know, do we really regret things? we don't. I personally don't think that we regret things. We just wish that we've done it differently. I mean, because what happened happened, right? We've done it
Mm.
based on the set of circumstances and information we had at the time. That's the other part.
Yeah,
So it's like a catch. It's very interesting because we don't want to regret what we've done, but yet we would change things if we had the opportunity to do that. Now, obviously,
yeah,
we can't turn the clock backwards. We can't go back and change the things, but we can do it now going forward. We can give the
yeah.
advice to others, and that's exactly what you're doing. There is you and me right now, or you and
Mm.
I. There's plenty of us that are in our early stages in life, right? That are going through that stage where you were, and maybe this could be the differentiator for them, can be the motivator to change their behavior today, so they don't fall into the same trap and make the same mistakes that you or I made or many of us made, in
Yeah.
that time frame. And by the way, we talk about us before, but we're still here and we can still make the mistakes today, by the way, folks.
Oh yeah. What
Every
about future
stage,
self?
exactly. The future self was going to come like, yeah, sheesh. I mean, I could have done
Yeah,
better. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, we don't know. We do the best that we can based on today, but at least we know that there are certain things we shouldn't be doing. And
yeah.
based on studies and factual stuff, we could make a difference. There's no reason to do bad things that that's going to affect your life today.
Mm.
If when we know, I mean, think about it this way, like cigarette smoking, right?
No.
Now you have signs everywhere. It causes cancer. So is there a decrease in use of that? Yes, but now they replace it with vape. So we have other problems, right? And they keep doing that. But the fact is, like, if you had someone come to you from the future today and tell you like this is what it is, and brings you an, I don't know, some sort of digital file that shows you like what the future looks like, what would you be doing? You're probably going to make some moves and some changes immediately because you don't want that outcome, especially if it's a bad one. Maybe 1% will have a better outcome in the future. They'll be like, I don't want to change anything. I want to do more of that. But the idea is probably going to be the opposite, whereby you're not going to like what you see, and so we can have that. I mean, this is. I mean, it's funny. You're in the future. I'm in the past right now. You're tomorrow. You're Friday. I'm on Thursday. Yeah. So we're talking about like my old self and young self and the future self. Well, you're in
Yeah.
the future. I mean, really, conceptually, when you think about it, it's mind-boggling stuff. But the fact is, really, we are only giving advice to us ourselves today, but everybody else that is within our time frame or coming up to our time frame, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, by the way, you don't have to take anything that we say, but you're doing the work. You are a fitness and mindset coach to change people, to really help them mindset. I mean, it's a big deal. Like, this discussion is
That's
about
everything.
mindset. It's how you see things, how you transform to think about things. If you can see things differently, your life, it's basically just shifting from one side to the other, and the world changes. It is amazing, but yet most of us are stuck, and we shouldn't be stuck, folks. And by the way, if you're listening, watching, I mean, I know Neal has offered the book. Just follow on Instagram, but also he is offering services. So if you need someone to guide you, to mentor you, to help you, to coach you, well, guess what, we have a resource with us. There you go. There's no reason why not. I mean, you reach out to him. There's got to be some work. I mean, just having this discussion, he's just changed me a bit. So I know he's probably going to change anybody that can talk to him, because this motivates me and keeps me going. I'm sure it's going to motivate anyone that's watching or listening right now. And that's big for any one of us. I mean, it's priceless, folks.
Yeah, we all need coaching. I need coaching. Like, I'm going to another country in a couple of weeks to go and see my coach, and I could talk with him over the web like we are, but you can't beat osmosis. You can't beat real life in the flesh. It's like what you were saying a little while ago, 5 to 10 minutes ago. We know what we need to do, and we all have the information, but then sometimes we need to be told it, and we need to hear it again from somebody, and then we'll action it. And I think that comes down to our tribal, primal, collective roots, however we evolved in our civilizations and villages. You know, it's part of our nature to be in real life, real person in the flesh with other people. We're so individuated with all of this fallacy of the lone wolf and the singular strong man that hero that conquered everything. Ah, man, that's fake. Ultra individuality is a curse. It's a weakness. It's a trap. It's a way to separate. It's a marketing scam. So hearing things from other people, that's why I think, oh, I already knew that, but why didn't I do it? It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's That's just unnatural. That's just not how we operate. The process of initiation and leadership and learning is supposed to be from somebody who has been through what you've been through and hearing their story, not just reading a book or hearing someone. And here's the other problem: we get all this advice from people that don't follow their own advice. No wonder people keep smoking when people tell them to stop smoking, because they don't have someone around them who is embodying the characteristics that they want to be, And as you say, like, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything being said here, all this information, pretty much all of it has already been available for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's just our turn to be the leaders and the teachers to pass that on. That's just the path of life, life to lifeless. It's just not because it's like the information it's old information, it's timeless, but it still needs to be passed on, whether that's through story, through podcasts, through media, through mentoring. It all needs to be there. And here is the crux of why the unified man and building a nation from within is important, is because every single problem, everything in the entire world comes from the same source, and that's from division within ourselves. Every problem, whether it's a brutal dictator, whether it's a piece of technology that doesn't work, whether it's a broken family, whether it's trauma, whether it's an environmental disaster, that everything all comes from problems of the mind, a severance between consciousness, mind, heart, and body. That's the source of every problem. And if you solve that problem, you solve every problem.
With that, on that note, I want you, 'cause we're up to the hour here, but I want you to give us, your last words of wisdom today for our show.
No, that's it. Got to
That's
set
it.
it there.
Okay. I
That's
mean,
my words of wisdom, man.
that was great. I
That's
just
it.
figured maybe you can add some of that, but that I
Oh, here's my words of wisdom. Just get my free book. Simple as that. And that'll elaborate even further. And it's not a big book. And also too, I'm in the process of recording the audio book as well. So that'll be free as well when I upload. We'll get that edited and uploaded in the next, 2 or 3 weeks. So just get amongst it. You want words of wisdom? Let's get on that. The.unified.man on Instagram. It's all yours.
that's it. Well, listen, Neal, this has been real. I mean, I had fun with this discussion. I enjoyed these topics and these
Oh,
talks,
it's the
and
best.
and frankly, I mean, it's just energetic. It keeps you going, man. And really, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share your information, your book, your for free. And really, that's to your point. It is wisdom. I mean, for us, all we have to do is kind of read it and take all this from you, and just hopefully apply it. But you're right. I still believe personally that you can read all the stuff in the world, but you need sometimes someone to help you practice these things. I mean, I'll give
You
you a good
do.
example. In martial arts, you can get a book in martial arts and learn all the techniques by visual and picture stuff, but it will never be the same unless you practice with the actual, individual and have a master to teach you how to do it and apply it. So it's very simple into this concept, like everything else. I mean, it's the reality, right? Go to college, we read all these books, and we have all these theory about how things work. But you go to apply them. I mean, you build skyscrapers. You can read about all of it, but being
Well,
in
buildings. I'll correct that. I could build a skyscraper if I wanted to do, but I built buildings, not skyscrapers. I've always
I
want to be
mean,
real. Yeah, yeah. I could. Yeah,
building.
yeah,
Well, I built a skyscraper was just the next level, next
yeah,
evolution
yeah. Let's
of
put it
the.
this way. Yeah, I just want to
But
be clear on that. I don't want any.
no,
I don't
no,
want to be fake ever.
no. But you know what I mean. I wasn't.
Yeah,
The idea
I
is
know.
that you can build stuff that is that magnitude, and doesn't
Yeah,
matter if you can bring one level, you can bring 20 or 30 and 100. I mean, it's the
true
same
that. True,
concept
true. Yeah,
multiplied. That's all. I mean, there's caveats, but the idea that I'm talking about is the idea that you don't you can learn about things the best way to learn about things is by practicing things and having some oversight on that practice and someone to mentor and coach and guide. And so that's what you do. And folks, I mean, listen, a resource is a resource, and that's exactly what we're here for, to educate, enlighten, and provide a resource. And Neal, he is one that can help. So
Oh, I'm badass resource, man. We all need masters and guidance. I need it. I'm getting it. You need it. You're getting it. You would have got it before. And that's how you reach the next level. You know,
I have
you
a
can,
few.
as you say, that's the only way. It'll fast track. You want to save time? You want to save time, invest the time. Simple, man. Simple as that.
Well, time is the most valuable asset, that we have in life, because that's
What
the
we
only
have,
thing we're
man.
running out of. So we gotta invest it wisely,
We gotta
right?
go, baby. Let's go.
All right, folks. Well, listen, it's been real. Neal, thank you so much for being with us on the show today.
Pleasure, man. Loved every second of it.
Thank you. And folks, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed our discussion. So check out the link, for Neal on the description of the show. I'm American H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.